In the last episode, I built this rather fancy nuclear power station, which has been running a little while now, hasn't melted down, and is still producing me over 1.2 million SU. But what am I going to do with all this power? Well, as I said at the end of the last episode, what I really need to do is to be able to store this power, and then also be able to use it for a big old storage system from the Applied Energistics 2 mod. And that's a whole bunch of work in itself, just putting together Applied Energistics 2 system from nothing, but a whole bunch of you in the comments told me that I can't use Applied Energistics 2 to store the power from this thing and then use it for other things. Now, there aren't any other tech mods on my mod pack apart from Create, so all I need to be able to do is take this rotational power, store it in some form of battery, and then be able to release it somewhere else in the form of rotational power. And I need to figure out how all that's going to work, which means it's probably a good idea for me to leave this world for a minute and pop over to my test world. And here we are. Just like that. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, basically, I need to figure this out because if I can't do what I want to be able to do, I'm going to have to be installing a whole new mod to this mod pack, which I kind of don't want to do because I've literally just released the last version of this mod pack publicly on CurseForge. And if you want it on Modrinth stuff, I can't. The Modrinth people won't let me put it on. But basically, my plan for this nuclear power station, not this one because this is in my creative world, the one in my actual world, is to have a big building that's basically a big old battery bank that's going to store an absolute ton of that power for future use that we can then use across the river that doesn't exist in this world over at my industrial area later on. And all of those machines and things are going to be running off rotational power, so we just need to store a whole bunch of it. And I think that's something we might be able to achieve. In order to achieve that, we're going to need a few things. An electric motor, a creative motor, an alternator, some dense energy cells, some overcharged diamond wire, and some electrical connectors. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop our electric motor down. This is our power station that is generating 1.2 million SU. We're going to have that going into an alternator, which basically turns that into electrical power. And then what we're going to do is stick a connector on there, put a dense energy cell there, and then put one of those on there and connect them together with that wire. And that's not storing any power. But don't worry, because there's another block. This one, the energy acceptor. See, what the energy acceptor can do is take the power that's coming from this and actually turn it into Applied Energistics power. There you can see we're now storing a whole bunch of power just from this little alternator here. And then what I need to be able to do is take that power out of there and then power a motor. So let's put down this electric motor here, stick another one of those on there, and then connect those things together, and hopefully, I'm pretty sure I could do this in my other world. Right. Fortunately for us, we have a whole range of motors from the Create New Age mod, so maybe we could power some of these instead. Let's put down this reinforced motor with this strong motor extension on it, grab ourselves a little bit more of this tasty cable stuff, and then plug those in together. Is that working? It is not. Okay. Put that on there and then connect those together. Is that working? It is not. What if we was to get some of this Fluix cable plugged into all of this stuff? Is that going to allow us to do it? No. Okay, so what if I just come directly off the energy cell instead? Put one of those on there and one of those on there and link those together. Nothing at all. So it turns out you guys were absolutely right. I can't use Applied Energistics 2 to store a whole bunch of the power that we're creating in order to then use it later on in terms of rotational power. So I need something else. Now, unfortunately, there's absolutely nothing in the Create New Age mod that does this, so I am going to need a whole new mod in order to store power for the... Oh, geez, I've got to find a mod now. No, I don't! The multi-block accumulator from the Create Crafts and Additions mod, which is supported by the community for the fabric version, looks like it has exactly what I need in order to store large amounts of energy and turn it into rotational power later on. All I need to do is configure some stuff, and apparently that's it. Right. Can I make it bigger than 3x3? No. But I can have individual ones. Okay, how much energy can this store? I can, wow, okay, I can make it 5 high. And I just need to give it an input and an output. Stick one of those there and one of those there. Can I use this crazy overcharged cable stuff? Oh, look at that, that will hold 90 million MEs. I don't know what an ME is, but I'm going to have 90 million of it. No, it's 90 ME. Oh, well, surely that's 90 million energy, right? Okay. Oh, right. So I can have a whole bank of these things. This is amazing. And then I get my electric motor, or even one of these fancy reinforced motor jobbies, stick one of those on the back of there, one of those on the back of there, stick a little bit of cable on there, and then stick a little bit of cable on there, and watch them. Oh, this one's going. This one, not so much. Oh, now it's going. Okay, so the motor extension. Oh, does the motor extension go the other end? No. How does this work? Oh, maybe it goes that way round and I stick that on there. Yes, it does. And then the motor extension means I can make it have 200%. I don't know what it is percent of, but I like 200% because that's double what I would usually have. Stress to... Oh, right. Okay, I see. Right. Gotcha. I'm picking up what you're putting down, game. So I guess all I need to do is craft a whole bunch of these. How hard could that be? And what is the Tesla coil for? I feel like I need one. I don't know what it does. Give it some power and find out. It has 40 in it. Was it kill mobs? It does not. Well, that is a shame. So back on the actual world then, before we get carried away and start building a whole bunch of those accumulators, I think it would probably be a good idea for me to at least get this island in some sort of state that it doesn't just look like a higgledy-piggledy mess. Which means adding in some roads around our power station, expanding the platforms, expanding the whole area so we've got a nice wall around this island and basically doing absolutely loads of stuff, which probably means you're going to get a replay of this all round about now. We've got a garden, a tiny little flowery garden to make this nuclear power station feel like it's a green, clean energy power station and not one of those dirty, horrible things that has all sorts of smoke and horrible gases coming out of it. Yes, right, so I've been very busy. First of all, putting in all of these walls with some lights around with some different variations of stone, followed by a whole bunch of floor with different variations of tuff. And yes, I said variations wrong. And then I created roads with different variations of mud, and then I created walls with fences around, and then it took forever. But I think this area is just about complete now, and we've got 1, 2, 3 brand new empty buildings ready for building lots of useful things. And we're gonna need lots of useful things for turning all of that rotational power that we're not getting over here anymore because everything's shut down into electricity, so we can store it in bulk. In order to do that, we're going to have systems in place to actually convert the rotational power into electrical energy, so that's going to be an expensive rabbit hole of production. And then of course we need to store that with those accumulators we saw earlier. One other thing I did during that big old time lapse was to build a basalt generator in order to make basalt for the roads, which I didn't actually end up using any of because it was too blue. yeah, I've got this weird blue tint which doesn't go with the mud or this deep slate at all, so I've now got an absolute ton of basalt just kicking around in here, as well as loads of these other materials that I didn't actually use all of them of. And if you're interested in seeing my little tuff farm, which is down underneath this little power station, and it was a mud farm at one point as well, but it's a tuff farm again now because I needed more tuff. All we've got going on here is a box I fill with diorite, one I fill with andesite, a lava pump pumping some of the lava from our lava farm into this basin, and a press on top, and that just generates a whole bunch of tuff into this box that isn't here now because they took it upstairs. Anyway, I'm procrastinating away from the job that we actually need to be doing today, and that is to turn all of the rotational energy into power. But as I said, we've got no rotational energy now because all of these have turned off, and that's because my nuclear power station rod reactor things have got no fuel in. If we hop inside my little power station just here, you can see all of these things have shut off. It's ready to go, but we don't have any fuel, and I also haven't finished the little entrances and exits that I said I was going to do in the last episode. There's still so much to do, and I think the first port of call here is to get this up and running again by getting fuel in. And I don't want to just manually deposit into this barrel, which we were doing before, which then sends it under and brings it up for the arm to collect and deposit. I want to automate getting it in here, and I was going to do that with vehicles, although I think, considering it's taken me 2 days to get to this point in the recording already, and we're only just 10 minutes in, I don't think I've got time to be building an entire rail station with little vehicles running around just to take the items from this building and put them in that one. So what we're going to do for now is just have some conveyors, and coming into this room, considering I've been building for all that time, we should have... What? I thought we'd have more than 700. Pretty sure it was about 700 when I started. Is there something wrong here? You're not making any. Have you given up? Oh, have you got too many things in? Well, that's not ideal now, is it? Geez. Okay, so we got a surplus of clay, we got a surplus of stone, but we didn't have a surplus of thorium because the why? You're on forced round robin. Maybe if I just put it onto round robin, it won't have such an issue getting stuff in there in future. So, yes, fuel into the nuclear reactor. We need to automate getting it from there all the way over into this building over here via means that I haven't really thought about or put a great deal of time and effort into thinking about because I was going to use vehicles, but I've run out of time. Jeez. The other problem is, I mean, the idea was that it's supposed to be hit. Oh, I suppose we are finishing it off at this point here, so we could actually bring that storage box that's got the nuclear fuel into this end, and then we could have like this garage door opened up a little bit so that a vehicle could get in there, and then it could just come across here and deposit it in here, but then we got to get it from here into there. And so a few minutes later, with the power of video editing, I now have a hole underneath our nuclear fuel farm, which is filled in with industrial iron and lights that leads all the way down around this little squirrely corridor, past this bit where we're going to be getting power from, all the way down to our nuclear reactor, where we already had all of these systems in place to take the nuclear fuel and put it into the nuclear reactor. So all I'm going to need to do here is basically just extend this belt. Oops. Yeah, extend the belt. Jeez, will it reach this far? Yes. And that's not going to go any further, so then we're going to need another belt all the way down to this point here. Come on, join. Is that too long? Really? Huh. Okay, it goes to there. Fine. Right, fine. We'll have another one there then. And then we'll have a little one over here. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind if you want to have a little bit off belt there. And then we need one coming this way, all the way from there to there, just like that. And then we just need one from there to there. And hopefully this one will be long enough. It is not. Oh, it's so annoying. Fine. In that case, we'll just have a little piddly one at this end here as well then. That's absolutely fine. If you're going to be awkward with your length of your belts, that's fine. You can change it in the config. I don't need to change it in the config. It's fine. One actually needs to come one longer, so we can put a gearbox in there, and then this one needs to come one longer so that we can put a gearbox in there, and then this needs joining together just like that, and then this one needs joining together just like that, and then it all needs nicely colouring in with this lovely andesite casing stuff all the way down to the very end. And I could have this angled. I could have this belt angled down from there, but I'm just going to put a chute in. That's easier. So now we just need to power this, make sure it's going to go in the right direction. And that should just be a case of, hopefully, fingers crossed, popping one of those on there. Wow. Wow, always the wrong way around. Every time. Fine. In that case, we'll have one of those there, one of those there, one of those there, and then one of those there. Now it's all going the right direction. Let's make sure at this end everything's doing what it should be doing. So it's going to go into this barrel here, which is basically just like a backup to then allow just one at a time to come through. Go up there. That should be going in the right direction. I believe it is. Yes, it is. That'll get blown up there and they'll go into there. So all we need now is a system in place to actually get the nuclear fuel on top of this thing, which I'm just going to do with a whole bunch of chutes. However, I am going to need a smart chute at the top with the filter so that it doesn't suck absolutely everything out of the system and just takes the actual things that we need. We'll pop that there, make a smart chute. Now I need to prevent any of this coming out of here when I attach this to this, which is going to be a very difficult thing to do because it's going to be attached to that. So we need to actually, instead of having that there, just put a full block there for now so it can't go any further. Pop that on there, grab one of those, chuck that on there, put those back in there, take the clay out of there that's gone in there, put that in there. Now it's got nuclear fuel, but I only want it going one at a time, so that's absolutely fine. So then we'll take the 64 out of there. That should only have one in there now, which means we can take that out of there, join those together, and now the nuclear fuel is going down these chutes, as you can see, onto our conveyor belt, and that is going to power our nuclear reactor. But it's a total waste of fuel having that running now while we've got nothing in place at the other end to do anything about it. So I need an on and off system for this, which means I need to come all the way down to here. No, I don't. Yeah, I need to stop the conveyor before it gets there. Jeez, quick. I just need that one. There we go. No, there. Whew. Now what I need in here is a redstone link on the wall with fuel and fuel on there and a lever next to it with that power to turn that on. And then we need to go back down again, down my new tunnel into the corner here, put a clutch on there with a redstone link on there in receive mode with one of those and one of those, and now that's going to turn off the entire system, which means it's now fully controllable from that switch upstairs. And nothing is or should have made it up to the top just yet, which means we're not wasting any nuclear fuel at all. However, it looks like I've missed a spot here. So let's just finish that off there, and there we go. Job's a good one for this. And that means we can now move on to the fun stuff. And the first fun stuff we're going to be moving on to is turning our rotational power into electricity. And that means we need a whole bunch of magnets. And we don't just want to be using the normal boring magnets. I really want to be making the netherite magnets ideally, or if not, at least the fluctuated magnets. Because that way we're going to get a whole bunch more bang for our buck with our power turning it into electricity. Now these fluctuated magnetites are not that difficult to build once you've got a little charger set up. And we've already got some of that stuff already set up from when we had the little temporary workshop out here. However, the netherite stuff's a little bit more tricky because we need netherite scrap. And realistically, we're going to need a whole bunch of these things setting up. And the reason for that is there's absolutely no point at all in just plugging all of our power into one transformer. Because as much as we'll be able to make the generator go really, really fast, we need to make sure we're using all of our SU. And I think that means we're going to need a whole bunch of these generators, which is why I've left a massive amount of space out here, which is where all of our battery banks and our generators are going to be operating. And that means we're going to need a whole lot of magnet stuff, because you need the magnetite in order to make the fluctuating magnetite, unless we do go for these netherite ones. But I don't think I've got much netherite scrap. I have one. However, there is a way I can craft it. What I need is some netherite dust, some nuggets of experience, and a whole bunch of lava in order to turn our netherite dust into netherite scrap, as well as some other junk. But in order to get netherite dust, I need powdered obsidian and cinder flour and a superheated blaze burner. And I'm not anywhere near any of that stuff just yet. And I'm not sure, even with nuclear power, if our boiler heaters, when they're running at maximum temperature, are classed as superheating. There's only one way to find out, and that is to come back to my test world where I have this single dual core reactor rod setup going into 3 boiler heaters with 3 blaze burners on top, and this one I've given a straw which allows it to drink lava from underneath it, and I didn't know if that'd be helpful for this. I thought we'd check, so let's just chuck on a bunch of fuel on there. That's going to go into there, power this thing. These should start getting hot, and that doesn't help with the blaze burners at all. And to be honest, I didn't think it would. But instead of putting those on there, can we just put basins on there, and does that count as those being now superheated? If I was to put a blaze down there with a basin on it and fill that full of blaze cakes, it goes blue. And if I was to put a mixer on there, powered with a creative motor, and throw in a little bit of this obsidian powder and a little bit of cinder flour, that works. But will it work on here? Put one of those there and there and there. Put a cog on there. Might as well just join that to that and use that one's power, and then we'll throw in some powders, obsidian and some cinder flour. We don't need these ones. We're just going to have it all coming through this one, which should hopefully get hot enough in a minute. Yes, it's at maximum, and that's doing absolutely nothing. But if I just dig a little bit of a hole in the floor, get rid of that and put a heat pump on there facing upwards, is that going to heat this up? It is not. That pump's not actually pumping anything at all, which is rather odd considering it's connected to this. I guess maybe because it's got nothing to pump into, but that seems a bit strange. I wonder what would happen if I put a blaze burner there and put a pump into that. It's also still pumping nothing. Let's get some more heat pipe down here, and it's still pumping nothing. I don't understand why it's not pumping anything. Oh, now it's pumping. Yes, it won't pump into a basin or a blaze burner. So it doesn't look like we're going to be able to go down the netherite scrap route at this moment in time, which is good because I really don't have enough time for that in this episode, and I'm planning on a netherite factory later on anyway. That's going to save me some time. In which case we either need to stick to the fluctuated magnetite, which means we need a whole bunch of magnetite, or we could go for layered magnets, which is just overcharged iron and gold. We could even go for redstone magnets, but we really are going on the weak magnetic force at this point, so let's see how much magnetite I can get hold of. I have 148, but is that going to be enough? So each coil will require a minimum of 12 magnets, and I have 148, which means I can make 12 rings. But I don't know how much power each ring will use from our power station, and like I said, I want to make sure we're maxing out our SU into electricity, because I'm weirdly back on my test world, that is, because I need to now figure that. Oh geez, I got a lot of maths and sorting out to do, so I'll be with you guys in a minute. So the first test I need to do is figure out how much stress each one of these generator coils uses in order to figure out how many generator coils we can have. So I've got this running off one max size boiler, which is running at max efficiency on maximum speed, and if I put a cog on there, we should find out that this is using hardly anything at all. So we have 295,000 available stress from this, and if I join this to this, that then uses 10,000. That's a lot less than I thought. Okay, let's disconnect that one then. If I have 2 of them, that is now using almost 20,000. So it's around about 10,000 for each generator coil. But what if I switch out this magnetite for the fluctuated magnetite? Does that mean we use less, or does that give us more? Now this might just affect the amount of electricity that we get out of this, or it might just affect how much stress each one uses. So with neither of these plugged in and back at our full level of stress, let's plug that in, and now we're using more. We're now using 30,000 on one coil, but our energy output is 720 energy per tick. I didn't check that before. I've got to put the magnetite back on now then. So replacing the fluctuating magnets with the original magnetite, that's only giving us 90 energy per tick, but is only using 10,000. Okay, I'm picking up what this game is putting down. The better the magnets are, the more energy we get, but the more stress it uses. But can we get a little bit silly with this? For example, can I have a whole bunch of those coils all coming out at once and then just generate an absolute ton of electricity, or is there a maximum number of coils you can have per set of carbon brushes? So with this I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those now. I'll stick my carbon brushes on the end. That's now generating 3.6 thousand energy per tick, and as we can see from the generator coils, they're using 30,000 SU each, which means we're using now 150,000 SU. So we can just have a big old line of that, which then means that we're generating a whole bunch of energy from this. But how far can I go? Okay, if I add 10 on there, that's going to overstress one max size boiler. So the most we can get from one max size boiler is 9, which gives us 5.8 thousand energy per tick, and that's basically using 270,000 SU. But you're already probably picking up what I'm putting down. If I was to use this fluctuated magnetite in order to max out our 1.2 million SU boilers in my actual world, I would need 39 generator coils running at max speed in order to actually use all of the SU and generate all of the power. And as I said earlier, I can only make 12. Which means we're probably going to have to be using layered magnets instead, which is going to change everything quite significantly. And they look really awful. I really don't like the look of these things. Now let's just change this all out with the magic wand and see how that affects everything. Now each one of those is using 18,000 SU at an efficiency of 67%, which means we're only getting 2.9 thousand energy out of there, and that means we've got a whole bunch of stress left, which means we're going to need a lot more coils. So let's make a whole bunch of these things. Break that, add all of these until it's totally overstressed, which is at that point there. Stick on our carbon brushes and the stressometer, and we're using exactly the right, we're perfectly stressed. But how many are we using? We're still only getting 2.9 thousand energy per tick. Is that what we were getting before? Yes. Okay, so there's a limit here as well we need to consider. Okay, so, right. So 8 generator coils will max out 1 carbon brushes, but what if I put 2 of these in front of each other like this? Can I now go up to 16? No, because I can only have that many in there anyway. But if I stick carbon brushes on there, fix my wall over here, and then stick more carbon brushes on, no. So we can only have 8 generator coils per carbon brush, and we need 16 generator coils per max size boiler using the layered magnets, which means we're going to need 2 of these tunnely things with 2 sets of carbon brushes for each of our boilers, which means we're going to need 8 in total, which isn't as many as I thought, but that is going to be an awful lot of layered magnets. And I wanted this outdoors and to look like industrial and nice, but the only way we're going to achieve that is with these magnetite blocks. But that's going to give us nothing in terms of power. So I guess at some point or other we're going to be needing to upgrade this entire system, but for now let's see what we can do in terms of getting all of these in place. And that means it's time that I took over one of our brand new buildings in order to build a generator coil building factory, because I'm going to need somewhere to build all of these fluctuated magnets, or the layered ones, whichever ones we decided to use, which means I'm going to need a whole bunch of energy stuff. That's right. Now these 2 buildings are close to where we're going to be working, so it makes sense to have the things that we're going to be building over there close by. However, they're miles away from our normal power station, and that one's a lot closer. So I might build it all in there and save those ones for later for something else. And all I need to do is build a whole bunch of energizers. Now we've already got the basic energizers, but I think I'm going to need reinforced energizers in order to energize the diamonds in order to make the layered oh no, I don't need overcharged diamonds for those. I just need overcharged iron and gold. Now gold requires 2k of power, whereas iron requires 1k of power, and the basic energizer does, it's a speed difference. Okay, right. Oh, well, in that case, we want lots of speed, don't we? So, yeah, we're going to be building in there, which means I need to route power into there and build a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah, let's get that done. So, making myself a little workstation inside and routing the power in, I'm now ready to start crafting all the things we need. And we already have 1 basic energizer, but we're going to need 2, and good ones. Good ones require overcharged gold, and really good ones require overcharged diamonds as well. So, I guess we should set up a basic line in order to start making the basic ones, and that means it would be better if the power was over there. Yeah, let's move the power just like that. There we go, we've got power on the other side now. Fill that hole back in, and then we're gonna need, these are all gonna be oh, hang on a minute, these need electricity, so we're gonna have to have a basic coil generator in here. Okay, in that case, let's build that, I guess at the back of the room makes most sense. Let's build it a couple of blocks off the wall, and we'll just have this as very, very basic for now because it doesn't need to be anything particularly fancy. We just need our generator coils, our carbon brushes, and then we just need to get that power over here. So I'm going to do what I did in the last building and just smash all of these to bits, and then just use a bit of chain drive to bring this power all the way down to this end of the room here, where we'll bring it upwards. I'll have some shaft there, a bit of shaft there, a bit more chain drive going across here like that, and connect those together, and there we go. Now we're generating electricity. Fantastic. Now we're going to need some belts and things putting together, so let's do that across here. So let's have one belt just there like that with a basic energizer above that. We'll get power to that from this. If we spin that round and put a shaft there, then we can stick a vertical gearbox there and attach that to that. That's going to power it, but it still needs electricity. So let's keep things nice and basic for now with our connectors. We'll put one on there and one on there and a little bit of copper wire from there to there, and now that's connected. We can connect the belts nice and easily as well. And then we just need a bit of casing there. We'll tidy all of that up. We'll stick a barrel on there, a barrel on there, a funnel coming out of there, and a funnel going into there. And now we'll just energize one stack of gold because we're going to be upgrading this. And we're going to need another one of these for our iron. So we might as well get that in place while we're waiting for this to cook. So let's just bring that across here. In order to keep things nice and easy to walk around, we'll put a bit of chain drive there, a bit there, and then that in the middle there with a bit of casing on, and now we can get through. And now we've got a stack of overcharged gold in there. We're going to need a bunch of copper rods, a couple of basic energizers, which means we can now have a couple of advanced energizers. And then we just need to stick a few diamonds through there, which is going to take a long time on these basic ones, but then we'll be able to make the reinforced ones. There we go, 4 overcharged diamonds, which means we can now make 2 reinforced. Why can we only make what? Oh, I need more diamonds. And now we can make our second reinforced generator energizer thing. Put one on there, get rid of that one now, surplus to requirements, put that one on there, bring some shaft across there to join them together. Now I'm assuming that this one's probably going to need some better wire than the copper stuff, but we'll see what happens. Let's just chuck one of those on there. Connect that with our wire as well, and is that going to get enough? Wow, they can store up to 1 million? So in this one then, let's chuck in 9 stacks of iron, and in this one we'll chuck in the rest of our gold, which will be 9 stacks in total. And look at these things going, but are we actually producing enough power to keep those running? It doesn't look like it. It actually looks like they're going through power faster than we're generating it, which is a good thing to know. But these are only going to be running temporarily while we're getting the ingredients we need for these things, and the ingredients we need are a little bit lopsided, as we're going to need a lot more iron than we are gold. So I'm just going to grab another stack of iron blocks, turn those into another 9 stacks of iron ingots, and shove all of those in there, and they can continue to go once the gold is finished. Now the other thing we're going to need is cable, otherwise known as overcharged diamond wire, which we get from soaring overcharged diamonds and then energizing them. So let's make another one of these setups, but this time with a saw. So shuffling things around slightly to maximize the space we've got, I've now got our gold and our iron next to each other, and now this is going to be our process for generating our wire. So the way this should work is that if I was to fill this barrel in with overcharged diamonds, they should come out, go into there as the unfinished things, then get squirted with that thing, and then eventually they're going to come through as these, which I then need to put in this filter as a deny list and put that on there so that they all get, yes, just kept in there, which is done. Oh, well, that works nicely then. Excellent. Well, that means we're going to need a whole bunch more overcharged diamonds in order to get plenty of this wire, which we're going to need if we're going to be transferring a whole bunch of energy very quickly into our accumulators. But I don't know how many of those we're going to need just yet, so I'm not going to do anything with that for now. What I am going to do is take a whole bunch of this gold and a whole bunch of this iron and make a whole bunch of those magnets. Just like... Oh, wow, you get a lot for your money. Okay, that's a lot of magnets. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think it's more than enough. And now we've got stuff to make magnets with, but we're going to need a whole bunch of generator coils and carbon brushes as well. And I think we decided we need 16 generator coils per max-sized boiler, and that means we need 2 carbon brushes per max-sized boiler. And we have 4 max-sized boilers in this place. We have 2 on each of those, so we're going to need a whole bunch. 64 generator coils in total and 8 carbon brushes. Oh, how could that be? It's just going to be a whole lot of copper and a whole lot of andesite alloy. And I'm running seriously short on blocks of andesite alloy. I guess I need to go make some of that. Which brings me back to my storage system, stealing a bunch of... Oh, I haven't got much andesite there. That should be plenty for now, though. And then back into this little thing, where I just need another hopper, another barrel. I need to put all of that andesite in there. Then I need to go into this backpack, get a whole bunch of iron nuggets out of there and chuck those in there, and that should start making me some andesite alloy. But I want more, so let's make even more iron nuggets. There you go, have a full barrel full, bro. And that means I need more andesite, but I've got a whole bunch of that if I squirrel my way down to the bottom of this mine. Down in the last little area here, we always seem to have way too much andesite in here. And that's not the only place I've got andesite. If I then go all the way back to the top of my mine, using my handy elevator, if you remember from previously, my storage for all of that stuff is upstairs, and there's a whole bunch of stuff there just waiting to be collected. In fact, there is 65,000 andesite, diorite, soul sand, a whole bunch of cobble, and wow, that's a lot of gold. Yeah, well, we're not short of anything. So let's just shove the rest of that andesite in there, and then I'm just going to wait for my entire life for this barrel to fill up. It feels like this entire episode I've been waiting for resources to gather. I can't wait till my industrial area's, well, started, I guess, but finished, so I could just have all of these things on hand, jeez. And many time later, we now have almost a full barrel's worth and a whole bunch still left. Oh, not that much left to go through, jeez. Anyway, we've got plenty. And this all needs to be blocks of andesite alloy. Now we can get a whole bunch of that copper. I can make, yay, a full stack. Excellent. And the carbon brushes is just more andesite alloy with coal and shafts. I have shafts, I have a whole bunch of coal, and I have a whole bunch of andesite alloy. And we only need 16 of these, and I can make 64. So let's not overdo it. I've made 18. And with all of this fancy new stuff, that means we're well on our way to turn our rotational power into electrical power. So let's do this. So, in order for these not to just look horrendously horrendous, because these blocks are not the prettiest of blocks, I'm having some thoughts on how this is going to be done. We're going to need 8 rows of this, each one of them being 8 blocks long, which is going to take up a significant amount of space. And assuming we're having the backs of them towards where our power's coming from, that would actually make the line of them all the way to there, which would be a bit of a tight squeeze getting anything else in, and I don't really want it going all the way down there. So I'm having more ideas. One of my ideas was, instead of having them vertically, like it shows in all the pictures, we could actually have them horizontally. Like this. I'm pretty sure we could put our coils in that way, and our carbon brushes on top of that as well. We can. So we could actually have these buried in the ground slightly, so they're not protruding too much, or I can make them look nice and still have them quite tall and sort of give some depth and texture to this area. I'm going to have a fiddle with the layout and see what I can come up with. So I was considering a layout like this, with all of them just sticking out of the ground and having some sort of structure around them to disguise their horrible colour, but then I need to consider how far the wires can stretch from where they're going to be generating the power over to the accumulators, and that is it. That's the maximum length of cable we can have, and that's not close enough to go to our accumulators. I don't know whether it's possible to jumper these from one to the next. I assume it will be, so you could have things like electricity pylons and things going around your world, but I don't really want to do that for this. I want each one to have its own dedicated connection to the accumulators that are nearby, and that means I'm going to have to arrange this a little bit differently. Let's say, for instance, that these are our accumulators, which are going to be 3x3 blocks. I want each one of these to be able to fill up 4 accumulators that are maximum size, and that means they're going to need to reach all the way from over there to there, which that does. So that would be 1 power coil, and they would be the 4 accumulators. That's absolutely fine if we're just having 4 of those. That will fit in this area here, but then I'm going to need to have the rest of them. So what I think I'll then need to do is actually mirror this. So then we would have the next set of accumulators at this point here, a little bit like that, and then behind those, what have I got? I've got a 2-block gap, which means our other coil's going to be coming out of the ground over here, something a little bit like that. So we'd have our generator coil there, and then the accumulators in the middle. And if I maximize the use of this space, we can fill up pretty much this entire area like that and make this look really good. So without going too crazy filling all of them in, that would be the full size of the area for all of our electricity production, which I think is more than enough space. But I kind of want to build the accumulators to put them in so that I'm not just building everything out of this industrial iron and having to keep breaking it down again. And I haven't even looked into the accumulator crafting recipes. Oh yes I did, I looked at it earlier. We're going to need a whole bunch of copper rod, a whole bunch of gold wire, a whole bunch of capacitors, and a whole bunch of brass casing. Capacitors are red. Oh, I just need loads of sheet. sheet. That shouldn't be too difficult, but how many do I need? Well, each one is 3x3, which is 9, and they can be 5 layers tall, which is going to be 45 in total. And we're going to need 32 full-size ones, which is 1,440 accumulators. Or 22.5 stacks to be precise. So I better go and get crafting. So I'm going to need 45 stacks of capacitors, which is 45 stacks of copper sheet, 45 stacks of zinc sheet, and 45 stacks of redstone torches. That's a lot of stacks. I don't have any zinc sheet at all. I've got a bit of copper sheet, and I've got plenty of redstone though. But I think this would be a good time to go back to my storage system and make the most of my presses. Your presses? No, presses. It's not Christmas yet. Nearly Christmas. It is nearly, but I didn't say prezzies. 45 stacks of zinc. That's more than an inventory's full. This is going to take forever. I've got an idea. Pick up my backpack and get back to the power station and turn on my nuclear power, which I'm going to be using to power a whole bunch of presses when this hopefully comes online. There we go. Power is coming online. It's going to take a minute to warm up my steam boilers, but while that's happening, let me go show you what I've got in plan to make basically pressing 45 stacks worth of 3 different materials a whole bunch easier. I have set up 16 presses, each with its own barrel, funnel and belt, and over here I've added on a speed controller which is now connected to our steam boilers here, and as soon as power starts coming through these things I can connect this all together and we'll have these ingredients pressed in no time. The power is coming through and destroying itself to pieces. I'm going to disconnect these things from each other because they just keep falling to pieces. It's so annoying. Stop falling to pieces. So let's get these attached to my presses. Everything is going in the right direction. So let's grab myself. Grab yourself? No. Grab myself a whole bunch of zinc. And let's just stick like 3 stacks in each one. That's 36 stacks worth up to there. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I didn't... What? I need more. Oh, jeez, I've got to go back to the place. But look at them all go, making me many pressed zinc. But I'm going to need a lot more than that. I think it was pressed copper as well. I might as well take some iron. And we'll take some gold, why not? Well, that's all of the zinc and copper now pressed, which is wonderful, but I've got a problem with redstone. While it looks like I've got quite a lot, I need 45 stacks worth. And in my backpack, that means I need 2 slots worth of 124, which I've only got 1.5, plus another 832 in another slot. And looking in my jewel box, I've got 17 blocks of redstone left, and if I stick those in there, that's nowhere near enough. I thought I had loads of redstone, and I'm not making any anywhere. Now, it is possible to wash crushed raw iron in order to get redstone, or I could do it using the cinder flour and potions of strength system, which I've done before, and it's a slow and tedious process to put together. Mr. Beardstone just did it. I know he just did it in his... I know. Look, I've got no time. And it's bedtime. This video's due out tomorrow. This is the last one before the movie comes out. So I need this area finished. And it's just not going to be. So I think realistically, I'm just going to have to build as much as I can. And then, finish it off at another time. So let's empty all of this stuff out. And hope that I've done my maths so wrong that actually I've got more than enough ingredients for the things that I need. For now, let's just make a bunch of redstone torches, rather than burning through my entire supply. And then we can make a bunch of capacitors. That's 7 stacks worth. Now we just need copper rod and gold wire. Copper rod is a rolling machine and gold wire is a rolling machine, which needs gold sheets. So I'm going to need 22.5 stacks of gold wire and 22.5 stacks of copper rods. Can I have 22.5 stacks of gold, please? 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.5. Let's get all the gold going in my presses. And let's just set up a little rolling mill. We can just stick that in there. Why not? Oh, you actually get 2 stacks for every... Oh, okay. So we don't need 22 stacks then. We just need 11. Let's chuck some gold sheet in there and see how much gold sheet we get out of this. So again, yes, we get 2 stacks worth. Okay. So now that I've got everything other than the capacitors because of my lack of redstone, I should be able to craft a whole bunch of these accumulators. Let's grab ourselves some golden wire and some copper rods and our capacitors and see what happens. brass casing as well. I need 45 stacks of brass oh my god. I don't know why I didn't look at that. I probably just looked at it and thought that looks expensive, so I'm going to ignore it. Oh, jeez. How much brass case? I've got 10. Which, oh, no, oh, gee, oh, what another rabbit hole. Oh, jeez. Okay, then, to make this nice and simple, what I'm going to do is just remove these energizers for now. Put a couple of pokers on each of those belts. Put a chute and a barrel on each one of those. Put a bunch of brass in each one of those. And then a whole bunch of strip logs in each one of those. And that should hopefully start giving me a bunch of brass casing. Yes, it is. But I am going to need more brass and more strip logs. Okay, a whole bunch of time crafting later, and I now have a whole bunch of brass casing, a whole bunch of gold wire, a whole bunch of copper rods, and a whole bunch of capacitors. Nowhere near as many as I actually need for this, but let's see how many accumulators that actually gets us. 3.5 stacks. I'm a bit short. Jeez, I'm really... Oh my goodness me. What did we need? 22.5 stacks. Okay, well, let's plan these out and see how it goes. Oh, and you can get out of it with your donkeys, taking up my valuable space. Don't you know this is a dangerous power station, sir? And I purposely built it on an island to keep it away from you lot, villagers and the likes, coming here causing problems. I don't want any of your wine. I don't need your donkeys. Unless you've got redstone, which you haven't, you're dead to me. Go away. And that's as far as I've got. Not even one layer for the whole thing. So I need at least 5 times more than I've got. And then we've got a leak? Oh, jeez. Where's my leak? Oh, my basalt farm. I didn't even know that was still on. Oh, jeez, I'm on fire. Yeah, I forgot you teleport to it when you click the where's the leak at. Oh, gee, I didn't even know you was... Oh, jeez, look at it. Oh, no. Now, I've still got a little bit of redstone left, but not really enough to get anywhere close to where I wanted to be, but I might at least be able to get one layer of each of these things in. And bear in mind, each one of these can store 18 million energy, even just as a single stack. So that's going to be plenty of energy getting stored initially, I guess. So yeah, let's go build a few more, waste the last bit of redstone I've got, and then we can actually get this thing up and running. Okay, this is where we're at. I'm ready to craft a whole bunch more of these things. I've got more capacitors there. So how many am I going to get this time? Another 4.5 stacks. But I have got more capacitors, and I've got more brass being brewed back at my workshop. So let's go and grab that. There we go. Look at all that brass. I've also got logs being chopped in now, not as many as I need, but it'll give us another 4 stacks almost. Let's throw the logs back in here and the brass back in here. Get some more capacitors and a bunch more brass casing. And there we go. This should give us a maximum amount that we are able to build today from all of the resources that I've gathered and created. So all in all, we've made nearly 12 stacks of accumulators. That's not too bad. It's nowhere near what I needed, but it's close enough. It allows me to finish off the first layer with ease. And how many more am I going to get doubled up? Let's try and get 2 on each of the generators to a second stack size, and each one of these holds 36 million energy. We did, and I've still got a bunch left. Let's try and get the next row on these as well. We did, and I've still got 2 and a bit stacks left. Let's keep going. And wow, so we've got 3 block high for all of the rear rows and 2 block high for all of the front ones, which, doing the maths, enables us to store 1.4 billion energy. What? Yeah, each one of these holds 54 million. Each one of these holds 36 million. We've got 16 of these and 16 of those. That's 1.4 billion energy. I think that'll be more than enough energy. I don't know if we even need any more of these, although it'll look nicer if we did. And it's bedtime again. Sleep. there we go. Everything is now in place. We've got our 8 generator coils, 4 on each side, all of our batteries, everything's connected together with our diamond wire, and I've even got that running to these pylons ready to go over to there, where we'll finally be starting our industrial area. But I haven't connected it or turned it on yet, but it is all just one step away from doing that. So I suppose it's time to find out if we can make over 1 billion energy. So popping down underneath this thing, each one of the coils is linked to the one the other side of it, if that makes any sense. And I've got the power from each one of the steam boilers just coming up either through the floor or through these tunnels here, ready to connect. So it's time to actually get them connected. Let's get some shaft, connect that one. There we go, they're spinning. Let's connect that one. Now I'm going to connect this one and then, oh. How did that? Okay, apparently that steam boiler's not working very well. We'll worry about that in a minute. Let's connect this one. That one's going okay. And let's see if we're generating tons and tons of power. So this is saying that's not making any at all. No, that's useful. What about the one over here? Is this making anything? No. But is that just because it's going straight into the... Oh, it is. It's going into the batteries. So the way this should work, it should come off the carbon brushes, through this electrical connector, down to the big battery, and then straight through into the small battery, and then through this cable here all the way over to there. So these ones should be filling up, but it looks like these ones are, and these ones are not. Okay. But this one's getting so it all seems to be going into this one rather than the other ones. That's generating 2.9 thousand energy. So yeah, I guess it's going to fill this one up first for some reason, and not those ones. And what about the ones on the other side? Are we getting the same sort of thing? Yeah, this one's already got over 4 million in it, whereas those ones are not really getting anything at all. What about if we go over to our electricity endpoint here? Are these getting anything? Yeah, these have got nothing, but then they're not connected to anything. If I click on that, pull, inert pull. I'm not really sure what that means. So the issue with the steam boiler that was overstressed is this one. The other ones are all fine, but for some reason I need to keep switching around the pumps on here in order for the water to fill in properly. It's just one of those weird bugs, but there we go. Look, it's not got enough water. If I spin that round and then spin that one round, it will then go back to max and it will kick in properly again. I don't know why it does that, but anyway, I've been letting this thing run for a few minutes now, so we should be starting to accumulate a whole bunch of energy in these things. And I'm thinking one of the reasons why it's not quite working the way I expected to is just because I've got literally everything connected to everything else, which is probably causing a little bit of a problem. But let's just see. This one here now has the full amount, 54 million energy. That one is now charging up. This one is charging up slow. No, that one's still just ticking. This one is slowly charging up as well. Yeah, this one's nearly at 54. This one's at 27. This one's at 54. So yeah, we're generating a whole bunch of energy now, and it really doesn't look like it's going to take that long to get all of these absolutely filled to the brim. And all in all, I really like the look and the layout of this. I think it does look very electrical grid type thing, which is basically what I was going for. And that means that this nuclear power plant area is really coming together now, and I would say almost complete. But I did say in the last episode we're going to have a whole bunch of Applied Energistics 2 stuff here, but that's not going to be happening today. Obviously that's going to be happening very soon, but because this is the last episode of my third phase in this world, there's going to be a Patron World download very soon, so check my Discord for announcements and links for that, and you'll be able to get here and play with this power station and show me all of the things that I've done wrong with it, I guess. So between now and the next episode, I'm just going to tinker in this area, make sure all of our power stuff is working, and then in the next episode we can either start our Applied Energistics 2 stuff, or more likely we'll start over at our industrial area so we can actually start gathering some of the resources, like redstone, that have been severely lacking in this episode.